Hey there, hi, how are you? I'm the Geek with the Gab, and today we're going to try something just a little bit different. Now, for the past few weeks, I've been ripping apart some games, and I love video games, and it's fun to rip apart some of the more unfortunate ones, but man cannot live on video games alone. So today I'm taking a leap into the world of movies, and what better place to start than with 2014's Darren Aronofsky biblical epic, Noah. Now, just a quick disclaimer right up front. I am by no means attacking the beloved biblical story of Noah's Ark. Far from it. I have no intention of doing anything even close to that. But just like any review of the Lord of the Rings movies, for instance, is a review of the film adaptation thereof and not the story itself, I'm just attacking the movie. So without further ado, let's grab our swim trunks and our flippy floppies and dive right into 2014's Noah. The movie starts out with a pretty artfully done retelling of the creation story. Because if you're looking for a place to start a movie, might as well go with the very beginning. I hear it's a very fine place to start. After this bit of narration that covers a topic anyone watching the movie will already know, and has very little bearing on the rest of the movie, we jump to a scene between a young Noah and his father that is completely fabricated and will have very little bearing on the rest of the movie. Yay variety, I guess. Magical glowy snakeskin and Noah's father gets killed by a guy that definitely won't be showing up later on as a useless villain. Noah runs off to... Flash forward to adulthood. Well, that bit of character development was narrowly avoided. We find out that our super relatable and not at all annoying main character that we're going to be spending the next 2 hours with is a vegetarian. Hey, get away from the comment section, get away! Alright, I got nothing against vegetarians. Far from it. They leave more meat for the rest of us. Noah, however, is a super militant vegetarian. Not only does he and his family refrain from eating meat, but Noah will go so far as killing 3 men for even trying to eat a wounded animal. And tells off his son for picking a flower, because it isn't edible. 2 more hours is this clown, folks. 2 more hours. He and his 2 sons burn the body of the dead scaled dog type thing, rather than use any part of the body of this already dead creature to make their life easier. Apparently wasting an itty bitty little flower is verboten, but letting an entire carcass go up in smoke is hunky-dory. They all go back to the homestead where they meet up with another almost completely made up character in Noah's wife, played by Jennifer Connelly. There's a beautiful mind joke there, but I'll leave the low-hanging fruit. In the Bible, Noah's wife doesn't have a name, personality, character development, or really much of anything to do. In the movie, she has a name at least. That night, Noah has an odd sort of dream. Now, I'm aware that in the source material, the good Lord was a bit more direct than speaking through weird dreams. I mean, he'd later speak through a burning bush. Subtlety wasn't really his thing. However, this is a change that I'm actually pretty okay with. I mean, this is a whole lot more engaging from a dramatic standpoint than this.
It's gonna rain!
Based on this dream, Noah decides to take his entire family, including his newborn son, on a long and dangerous journey to visit his grandfather, Methuselah, who he's not even certain is still alive.
How do you know your grandfather's still alive?
I don't.
Clearly, he is a master of good decision-making. On their voyage, Noah and his clan come to an old abandoned mining village. Despite acknowledging that it's likely dangerous, they decide...
Should we go around?
No.
Apparently, Noah's plot point sense was tinkling or something. They go straight through only to find an injured young girl. Before they can stop and enjoy a moment of reflection, perhaps bringing up the question of if God intends to kill everyone anyway, why save one young girl? Scavengers show up. So they snatch the girl and run, for no other reason than the promise that she'll provide conflict later on. They flee over the hill and are met with Mordor? Maybe the shadowy area from The Lion King? I don't know. The exchange between Noah and his wife pretty much goes,
Must never go there.
We're on a mission from God.
Seriously, Connolly's only use in this movie is to give Noah something to disagree with. They flee into the weird area, the scavengers give chase, and everyone is attacked by Alright, you know what, I give up. I can't do this. I can't do this. No. Rock giants, really. Rock giants? That's what we're going with? Rock giants? Alright, you know what? No. Nowhere in the Bible do they stray anywhere near this, okay? These guys are called Watchers, alright? They're the Nephilim. Alright, they are actually in the Bible. They're in there somewhere. I don't have the passage because the Bible's confusing and makes my head hurt. But nowhere in there do they say that they look like G.I. Joes that took a spin in the friggin' microwave, okay? That doesn't happen, okay? I guess Darren Aronofsky just wanted to make a movie about stone giants fighting people, and that is a true and noble cause, alright? I'm totally on board with that. But when Darren Aronofsky wanted to make a movie about Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman getting it on, he just made a movie about Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman getting it on. He didn't try to shoehorn it into the middle of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. This Galaxy Quest reject brings the whole family to the Entmoot or something, where everyone agrees that Noah should be put to death. They've taken a page out of Jennifer Connelly's book, though, and ought to kill him by doing absolutely nothing. They just walk away. That night, unfazed by the encounter with the Grignock, the injured girl, who apparently never saw Les Miserables, asks Russell Crowe to sing her to sleep.
And so it must be, for so it is written, on the doorway to paradise.
This scene is entirely pointless. I just wanted an excuse to make fun of Russell Crowe's Javert. After this pointless musical interlude, Groot's physically deformed brother shuffles his way into their camp and demands they follow him. Sure, he's clearly completely trustworthy. All he did was knock Noah out, drag his entire family into a dangerous situation where they were sentenced to a slow and painful death in the desert. But, on the other hand, if a giant glowy rock giant with the voice of Frank Langella showed up and told me to follow him after I changed my shorts, I'd do anything he wanted me to. Mr. Burnt Marshmallow Face gives a bit of history, the vast majority of which is not even glanced over in the Bible.
Only one man protected us. Your grandfather Methuselah. We were hunted. Most of us killed.
How do I know? Because if the Bible included a bit about a young Hannibal Lecter killing an entire army with just a flaming sword and his magical powers, I would remember it from Sunday school. They finally make it to Methuselah's mountain, where the old bugger is, fortunately, still alive. He spends his time complaining that Noah and his son didn't bring him any food, then drugging Noah's drink. Noah has another weird dream that gives him the shocking revelation that, in order to survive the oncoming flood, he needs to build a boat. Noah wakes up to find Methuselah waiting for him with a gift. A seed he claims is from the Garden of Eden. I don't know about anyone else, but if my grandfather drugged my drink and then gave me a bramble he claimed was from the Garden of Eden, I'd be looking at putting him in a home. Noah just thanks him and goes on his way, though. Master of good decisions, that one. Noah plants the seed, which springs up into a lush forest with everything a family of 6 needs to build an ark large enough to house a multitude of animals, including the power to change the stone giants' minds.
We will help this man.
Because clearly, every person who has ever come forth claiming to work for God and wielding a holy relic has been completely trustworthy, and not a complete psychopath. There's some weird trippy time lapse as we follow the forming of a river from the spring the Piece of Eden created. Then, we follow a couple of birds flying back towards the Ark. This has once again been completely pointless. I mean, it's not like the building of a massive Ark, from the planning to the harvesting of the materials to the actual construction, would be worth an entire movie in its own right. No, we just skip right ahead to it being almost completely done. I'd like to point out that if we'd just gone ahead and skipped the creation story, the Watchers not wanting to help Noah, only to change their minds, Noah's second dream, Methuselah complaining about not having any berries, and Russell Crowe's musical number, we would have had plenty of time to devote to one of the most glaring questions of the story of Noah's Ark, all while staying underneath the 2.5-hour line. We see Orphan Girl, all grown up now and played by Emma Watson, being chased and flirtified by Noah's eldest son. They get dangerously close to hanky-panky, but Emma calls it off because, with her being barren due to that pesky wound from the mining camp, the deed couldn't possibly lead to a pregnancy. My, how times have changed. We then get to one of the other big questions of the Noah story. In the Bible, God commands Noah, "You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you." Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Now that's a tall order to be sure, but there's no specifics given. This is one part of the movie that I was actually really looking forward to, if for no other reason than to see Russell Crowe track down 2 rattlesnakes or something like that and try to figure out what gender they were. The movie, however, treats it with all the gravity it treated the building of the Ark. The animals just show up. Yep, the birds, snakes, and animals all just trek across the entire planet without getting picked off by the evil carnivorous men along the way. They shuffle into the Ark where Noah's family wafts incense over them, and they all just go to sleep. This, oddly enough, draws the attention of some of those evil men, coincidentally led by the guy who killed Noah's father, a man by the name of Tubal-Cain. Let me go ahead and tell you something about Tubal-Cain, or more accurately, let me have the book tell you. It does better than I possibly could. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. That's the only time he's ever mentioned in this entire book. The entire thing, that's the 2 times his name is mentioned. There's no indication that he ever met Noah, or Noah's father, or Noah's second cousin thrice removed. Nothing. Here, he's the main villain. I guess in this movie about completing a masterpiece of human engineering, the near-complete annihilation of mankind, and the survivor's guilt that follows, there needs to be a little extra conflict. Seriously, entire movies, books, and TV shows have been written about any one of those 3 things as their central idea, and they did need some crappy, underdeveloped villain to tie it all together. So Tubal-Cain and Noah engage in a pretty bland dick-waving contest that comes across as a really boring retelling of that awesome exchange between Tony Stark and Loki from the Avengers.
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Tubal-Cain runs off back into the woods, but Noah's second oldest son is intrigued by this mysterious figure, because it's about time he started growing a character. Tubal, back in his camp, is smithing weapons for an entire army so he can lead an assault he only just decided to do, because the Bible describes him as forging all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron, so they kinda had to work in his one identifiable trait. Meanwhile, back at the Ark, Noah has decided that there will be no wives for his sons. He breaks this to his son, who is already interested in what Tubal-Cain was hawking, which is another example of brilliant decision-making on his part. I mean, come on. Hey son, you know that sex thing you were eager to try? Sorry, not enough room on the Ark, but I am bringing Parcheesi and card games. Let's go! This, obviously, doesn't go over well. He flees into the woods, finding Tubal-Cain's camp, and stumbling into a conveniently placed ditch of dead bodies, with a conveniently placed woman he falls in love with at first sight.
I need this, I need love, I need you. You're around, you're right here, so you'll do. Please just be a woman. Just any old woman.
Emma, while searching for the lovebirds, comes across Methuselah scrounging for berries. They share their first and last 4 or 5 lines of dialogue, and then Methuselah, who apparently is some kind of mighty healer, waves his hands over Emma's stomach and pronounces her baby maker open for business. This is never questioned, explained, or referenced again. Methuselah just has magical healing powers. Yahoo! She runs off into the forest and tackle pounces her bow to proceed with the mating. I'd like to point out that her being barren has only become an important fact in the last 10 minutes of the movie. It's almost like the writers felt the need to shoehorn in more conflict. Yeah, clearly we needed a little more conflict in this sucker. Just about then, though, things start getting a bit overcast. Tubal-Cain notices the sudden change in the weather as well, and engages in a speech that I assume was supposed to be inspirational, but turns into a to-do list.
This rain is meant to wash us off the face of this world. But we are men. We decide if we live or die. We kill the giants. We kill Noah. We take the ark.
The crowd seems into it though, so whatever. They march off to what should really be an exciting battle. I mean, it's stone giants versus a friggin' army. This should be badass. Unfortunately, as with most other things in this movie, Darren Aronofsky completely neuters it. This time by not allowing any of the main characters to get involved. The tension of the fight comes from us wondering how the heroes are going to get out of it. We know they do. We've read the book. Noah and his family make it out. We know this. However, early on in this big, supposedly epic battle, all of Noah's family hides in the ark, safe behind a wall of stone giants. The only exception is when Noah goes to find his son, who is off looking for love in all the wrong places. The wife-to-be gets caught in a bear trap, by the way. Noah, predictably, takes one look at her and deems her a lost cause, dragging his son away. That's about it. The only surprise here is that Tubal-Cain actually manages to slip the defenses and, severely injured, manages to sneak aboard the Ark. With every character with a name safely on board, the floodwaters overtake the rest of the world, and everyone dies in an extremely painful and unpleasant way. The movie, actually, against all odds, decides to take a moment to let all of this sink in, with Noah and his family sitting quietly in the darkness, listening to the screams and pleas of the dying. The middle child discovers Tubal-Cain is on board, but opts to help him recover, rather than inform his father and toss him back out the hole he came in. Hell hath no fury like a teenage boy-denied nookie. To make things worse, Noah explains the rationale behind not getting the boys' wives. Owing to some weird vision he had, Noah has decided that they, on the boat, are to be the last humans ever. This, however, is thrown for a loop when Emma becomes pregnant, thanks to Methuselah and his magical woobly hands. Noah does not take it well.
If your child is a boy, we'll replace Japheth. Last man. If it is a girl, she must die.
Wait, what?
She must die.
Come again?
If you should bear a girl, in the moment of her birth, I will cut her down.
What? Movie, you're trying to get us to stand behind a guy who just threatened to kill a baby? I mean, I could understand it a little bit if it was even vaguely alluded to in the Bible, but it makes Noah out to be a pretty decent guy, blameless among his peers. You can blame a guy for trying to kill a baby, movie. It doesn't fit with the character. I mean, yeah, it's the Bible. Character development isn't really its strong point, but I'd think being a friggin' baby-killing psycho would make the page. He doesn't let up either. He makes his proclamation, then just goes right back to work. Flash forward about 9 months, because clearly no conflict would happen between the pregnant woman, her husband, and the baby killer in that time. Not to mention the crazy stowaway recovering while escaping detection. But at least we've had time to hear Russell Crowe singing, so, you know, priorities. Emma and her beau are preparing to leave on the Ark, for obvious reasons. A raft has been prepared and stocked, completely unhidden and with Noah's knowledge. Regardless, Noah waits until the raft is complete and loaded with enough food and clean water to survive a month adrift before setting fire to the raft and cutting it loose. That's right, he doesn't just quietly get rid of it when no one's looking, maybe in the middle of the night sometime when it's half finished. No, he waits until they're ready to leave and have precious supplies on board to set it on fire. It's not like you can just stop off at the local Circle K and grab a Coke and some munchies. This food has to last you God knows how long, and you just set fire to it? Does this guy ever think ahead? The stress causes Emma to go into labor, but fortunately for her, Noah is distracted when the middle child and Tubal-Cain decide to launch their plan into action, luring Noah away to kill him. Something that should have been done as soon as he started threatening to kill babies. Tubal gets the upper hand as the Ark runs aground, but middle child has a change of heart in the nick of time, striking the killing blow. No time to take a break for Noah, though, as he has some baby killing to do. Emma has given birth to twin girls, because otherwise there'd be no compelling conflict in this movie, and Noah is ready to get his murder on. He gets as far as actually holding the knife inches from one of the baby's heads before that little voice in the back of his head that tells us all that killing babies is wrong takes over, and he gives up on his murderous rampage. Embarking onto this brave new Eden, Noah decides to get drunk and naked on the beach before opting to suck it up and get on with rebuilding the human race. God sends a rainbow. The end. This movie is pitiful. I mean, nothing against the original biblical story. As I said at the beginning, I have no interest in analyzing that. But it only takes up about 2 pages. 4 chapters, from Genesis 6 to 9. That's just not a whole lot of material to play with. Darren Aronofsky is a talented director, but he just doesn't have anything to work with here. Noah himself is written like a blithering idiot, saying and doing all the wrong things at all the wrong times, and the supporting cast just serves to enable his stupidity. Cramming in the subplots with Tubal-Cain and the Nephilim were clearly attempts to make a more layered, compelling story, but it just muddies everything to the point of insignificance. And having the main character come literally inches from killing a baby robs us of any sympathetic, memorable characters. All in all, while it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, Noah manages to take the genocide of the human race by the hand of God himself and turn it into a boring and forgettable thing. And that's just too bad. I'm the Geek with the Gab, and if you'll excuse me, I got some work to do.
The Lord said to Noah,